Welcome back. I'm Stacy Shoemaker-Rowan, Editor-in-Chief of Hospitality Design Magazine and the Senior Vice President of the Design Group at our parent company, Emerald. Thank you so much for joining us at Close-Up, and welcome to the world of Georg Jensen. By way of background, Georg Jensen is a legendary Danish design house founded by Jensen himself in 1904 and known for timeless Scandinavian aesthetics, top-of-class craftsmanship, and visionary collaborations with leading artists and designers. Let's have a look at the world of Georg Jensen. So beautiful. Thank you for showing that. And so it's such a pleasure to welcome Nicholas Manville, who's Chief Creative Officer of Georg Jensen, who's with us from the Copenhagen studio. And we are also joined in studio by industrial designer and sky creator Orion Barbary, along with Thomas Myung Perez, Managing Director of Georg Jensen North America. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And stick with us because they created a bar for us, and we're going to check that out at the end of the conversation. Of course, we needed a bar for our close-up audience. So you'll see that firsthand, so definitely stick around. But first, Nicholas, hi, how are you? How are you doing in Copenhagen?
Great. Oh.
You're in the studio where all these beautiful products start. I mean, look behind you. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the studio and where you are.
Well, I am in Copenhagen, and I'm sitting at the table in the room where we mostly work with Aurelien when he's here. So a lot of the designs that come out of Georg Jensen happen in this space, and everything behind are tools that we use in the design process. So it happens to be beautiful, but it's also very practical. It's something we use all the time. So that's where we are. It's our design studio for our home collection.
So fun. And it's exciting today to talk about your tableware collection. Why tableware, and what makes that a hallmark of Georg Jensen?
Tableware is what we think is sort of a natural extension for us at this point. We make everything else for the table. And of course, we specialized in cutlery for many years. But when it comes to setting a complete table, we've dabbled in it, but we've never really decided to go in with the strength that we do now. So we wanted to think about it and do it in a way that was us, because there was no point in doing it if we couldn't actually find our way with the material or the design. And that's why a design like Sky is such a nice thing, because we decided to work with tableware in just using white and porcelain and letting the material be very simple. And with that, we needed a sort of a simple understanding someone who works with perfection and simplicity, and that's what I think we have with Aurelien. And so it was very easy to interpret the language of Sky into another material. So we looked at it in a material sense as well as a function sense, and it works beautifully with porcelain, we think.
Got it. And how did the collaboration even start? How were you introduced to him?
He had done some projects previously with us, and so it was an extension. We liked what he had done, of course, but the Sky language was almost born in 2014 in a knife design, and then I think he worked on expanding that when we decided we wanted more pieces in a collection and to evolve around this collection. So it's been a natural evolution, and I think the language that he's designed lends itself to being interpreted in a lot of different ways. So I think we're just getting started.
Love it. And what do you think makes for a successful collaboration, particularly in industrial design, where user experience is such a huge factor?
You have to have someone who understands the material and our house, and I think he does that very nicely. I think he sees the references to our history in mid-century design and evolves them and makes a new language out of them. So it's not a static form. Of course, we are informed by our history, and it's a very important thing, but it has to keep moving. And I think he understands that, and I think he understands how to make steel feel soft and almost sensual. It's a very hard material, and it's very difficult to work with and find that sort of sensuality and shape that I think he's found for us with Sky.
Love that. And I know you said tableware is something that you've been wanting to expand upon or create. How long has this been in the works? What's the storyline?
It's been about, I'd say 2 years or so. We were a little bit, got a little slower with COVID, of course, because of the process and the manufacturing process with a new material for us. But generally speaking, I think a little over 2 years.
Okay. So it's been a labor of love, per se. So what sets the Sky collection apart in terms of tableware and barware? And tell us a little bit about the inspiration. I know, Thomas, Orion, if you want to jump in.
You should start with inspiration, maybe.
Well, concerning the inspiration, I think Nicolas explained it very well, that when you work with Georg Jensen, it's already a fountain of inspiration, of shapes, of modernity, of forms and functions that they already work so well. So as a designer, you have to understand the company very well and where you can go. And you need to be pretty good at designing curves. So that's also, I always had a very easy comprehension of what they need. And so yeah, it's always been pretty easy to work with them. For the Sky, it was more about, we started with that one actually. And I started designing, sketching a lot, and found this interesting asymmetric line. That was the beginning of a pretty interesting design language that we use for the rest of the collection. Yeah.
Got it. And tell us about the name, Sky.
The name Sky is more because there is a lot of organic shape, a lot of round forms, water drops, and because it fits pretty well with open spaces, maybe where the sky is more in focus. It's something like that.
Right. And what was the R&D like, and figuring out where you all fit in, amongst other tableware, or setting yourself apart?
I would go back to your first question a little bit also. You said, where does it set it apart from what else you see? And I think what it sets it apart is, it's a broad collection, so it goes from dining to bar and drinkware. And there's this design line through it, so it all fits beautifully together, which is similar to many other Georg Jensen products. And I think that connection is where we're a little bit different from many other brands or products in the market.
Right. And what does this new collection entail? What are the products and features? I don't know, Nicholas, do you want to give us a little highlight? I know we're going to see some in a minute.
Yeah, well, the dinnerware is, we wanted to have a modern take on it. And as Thomas was just saying, it's not just stopping at the table, it's a whole entertaining idea. So you have a bar, of course, you have a way of entertaining with wine, bar. It's multi-dimensional in that sense. So that was important for us. One thing I want to add about the design of it is that the shape of Sky, and I think this is something in a lot of Georg Jensen products that Aurélien picked up on, and I think he uses it naturally in his designs, but the exact place where you touch the product is where the most design is. Where you're going to hold the shaker is where the Sky shape is, and that's what makes it work. So the design feels good when you're touching it. And I think you feel that with the barware as well. When you hold it in your hand, the place you're touching is where the actual design elements are, which is part of it too. So it's a tactile experience as well with his products.
It's amazing. It's more than just the design. It's form meets function.
You have to think of the final user at the end.
And I read this quote from you: design is an exercise where you take the simplest thing in your daily life and ask yourself how they could be done differently. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, it's easy. It's like playing chess. I mean, the more you're sketching, the more you are designing, the more you find solution or strategy to make a good product, to challenge the functions, and and to find beautiful forms and functions. That's what I mean by that. Or also being very aware of everything that you have around you, and fitting yourself with everything you see, and keep a sharp eye.
Yep.
Something like that.
Love it. And what was the collaboration like? How do you all work? Tell us a bit about the process, and especially as you mentioned, Nicholas, COVID probably threw a little bit of a wrench in what are quote unquote normal processes.
I think we have a working relationship, and almost, I won't say telepathic in the big sense, but we have a common language that we speak that's rather easy. So I think even when this project started, the type of designer we wanted to work with had to be someone who could work from afar. We're lucky enough to have him in Copenhagen every now and again also, but and that's of course important, but in this particular case it was really important to have a way of communicating that was very natural from afar. So I think between the drawings and the conversations, I think the process went really smoothly, all things considered. Even beyond COVID, I think it worked really smoothly.
It's great to hear. Figured it out.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge of the last year for you, as a leader, as a business owner, and what's your kind of silver lining moving forward, Nicholas?
We thought we would have a lot of issues with supplies and materials, and it didn't quite end up that way. I think everyone got very resourceful about how to work with each other and the types of things we would do and how we would just make it happen. So I'm pleasantly surprised by how we've been able to manage along the way. Of course, there's been some hiccups with shipping, and samples take a little longer to work out and get from A to Z, but it's all in all, it's been relatively smooth in terms of the developing process for us, and I think we've learned a lot of ways to make it simpler than we were doing it before, and maybe even faster, because we had to be.
Right. And I love how, we were talking about marrying form and function, but your pieces are almost like pieces of art at the same time, but they're so functional, and they're beautiful. What is your favorite part of the process, like to get to this? Is it the initial drawings, sketches? Is it the first kind of back and forth? Orion, we'll start with you, and then Nicholas.
Well, I think the best part of the process is when you bring ideas and they like it, and suddenly you have engineers starting working on it. You have they have a lot of talented people at Jensen that it's so great to work with. And I also know that at the end, a product, it's something in between the designer and the brand, and it's a teamwork.
Right.
So that part, I really like it, the development.
Nicholas, what about for you?
I think it's after the initial conversation you have with the designer, I think the best part is when you get the first email with the drawing in it and you pop it open and it's what you thought. It's what you kind of imagined would happen, or you're pleasantly surprised also. But having a conversation become a material thing that you can work with as the first step is very exciting, and you kind of have a vision of that it's possible at that point, and you kind of know the path forward pretty clearly. But it's the first unveiling, I would say, is the exciting part.
Yeah, your first kind of sneak peek or look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Well, before we say goodbye to you, Nicholas, is there anything else you're excited about? Any other things you want to share that's in the pipeline, or your outlook for 2021 and 2022 for Georg Jensen?
Very good. There's more sky coming, so we know that's a good sign. So in fall of 21, there'll be more sky pieces that we add, and I think we can't show them yet, but it stands up to what we were talking about how these lines of sky can take themselves into a lot of different places, and we're excited to see, to have all of that come out and have sky continue as a story for us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us from Copenhagen.
Thank you.
We're going to go check out your beautiful bar and actually see your products live. So we're going to start walking.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. All right, come with us.
Thanks.
We're gonna walk to the bar. You guys are coming with? Oh, you're over there. Sorry. Hi. And you actually designed the bar, right?
Yes, well, we found it was a good idea to have a support for all the products, and wood and steel is a nice contrast.
Right.
It works pretty well. So we actually use a part of the design language and the outline.
Yep.
That's one of the products to create the top of the bar, and then it's all set.
So beautiful.
Okay.
And I love how you kept it open, the slats in the front.
Yeah, it's a nice way to keep it light and to play with light and shadows, and
Right.
and you can see. On a normal setting, you can see the bottles behind, and
Yeah, and they almost become another piece of art. So we're here. Welcome to our Georg Jensen bar, which you've seen a couple times throughout the day. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys take over and share with us the beautiful pieces that are here. You can walk us through. Maybe you want to start with the shaker that started it all.
I mean, you can. I mean, I can maybe give a little bit sort of
Yeah,
like.
please.
You can talk more about product, but I can say that I think what I said before. You see this link between different categories of products from,
Right.
Your bar, from your entertainment area to your, dinnerware and drinkware, and it all has this beautiful design language, and
Yep.
so you're selling not just a cup, or you're basically communicating a whole lifestyle story, you can say, in terms of entertaining and eating and drinking.
Exactly, and they all speak to each other. They all
Exactly.
have a conversation almost. They're conversation pieces too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so yeah, we actually started with the bar series. So with the shaker and this asymmetric outline that we try to use in a different type of objects. So for serving, for serving boards, or for hip flask.
That's a flask.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
A flask. Very curvy, very pleasant to wear, very pleasant to touch. And we also continue this asymmetric line with a piece like that, where actually it was very hard to combine steel and glass. It's not an easy thing to do. And this for ice cubes, the jigger, and spoon for cocktails. And yes, from this we use the language and set this new addition. So red wine, white wine, short drinks, highball, and this is for shot.
Oh, perfect. And I even love these, the ice cubes, right?
Yes.
That keeps everything cold.
Yes.
Amazing. And then tell us about the porcelain too.
And for the porcelain, we have two serving. We have a low serving plate and a big bowl, which is also asymmetric in terms of outline. And pasta bowl for soup, and we have the lunch and the dinner plate. And on the plate, we have some kind of interesting and pretty sophisticated detail of this outline printed inside the plate. It was not easy to make.
No. Yeah. What were the challenges? What did you learn along the way?
Well, we learned that it's not easy to industrialize shapes that are not regular. It's
Right.
way more easy to do a regular plate than make something with a pretty sophisticated outline. So that was not an easy piece to
No, I'm sure.
make.
I'm sure. Do you have a favorite? I know it's hard asking, but was there one that you were really excited that how it came out?
Yeah, it's all work together. I mean, I was so happy to receive them the other day at home and make dinner and use all of them. I like all of them. No, I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
My favorite is shaker from the beginning.
From the beginning.
But no, but I also love the glass, and apparently they work very well with Burgundy or Bordeaux or any kind of wine
Right.
because it's a shape that has been studied for. So yeah, no.
And
Hard to pick one.
Yeah, I know. It's like choosing your favorite child. But and how is this responding to what designers and architects are asking you for? What are they asking you for in tableware?
I mean, it's great. I mean, I think a lot of designers, they ask for things that can fit into other settings.
Right.
And I think that's typical for Georg Jensen. I think you can take one item and it can be by itself as a sculpture.
Right.
Or you can take it and fit it into something else that maybe have a different design language, but it still works.
Right.
So I think this kind of timelessness and I would say, it can be a dominant design when you want it to be, but it can be sort of the opposite when you don't want it to be. I think that's what really attracts a lot of designers and people who works with different kind of products and brands.
Right. And is now bar making in your future? Just saying it's beautiful. This should be the next line. Just kidding. I won't give you a heart attack.
It's okay.
And where can everyone find these beautiful products and more from Georg Jensen?
So we have our own website, georgjensen.com, but we also distribute with all the leading retailers in the US, like Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus, Saks, and Macy's.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us here at the bar. I mean, it's so beautiful. I can't wait to dine with these someday and enjoy a beautiful plate of pasta. And make sure you check more out, as Thomas said, at georgjensen.com. And next up, enjoy a video from Petite Friture, a brief intermission, and then join us back for the Clever podcast at 12:35 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. Thanks so much.